All right, Kirby Smart and the Dogs got a really big shot in the arm today with the announcement from Cedric Van Pran that he is returning for his senior season. This is actually something we talked about on Dog Post Thursday. And so at this stage, Georgia's got, I believe it's five guys leaving early, what's called early for the NFL. Uh, and those people would be Jalen Carter, Keely Ringo, uh, Darnell Washington. Um, I'm going to forget people. Anyway, my point, I think everybody knows who the folks are, although I can't do it off the top of my head here. Um, yeah, so Georgia, but with Cedric Van Pran coming back, that is a big, noticeable deal. I don't think I said Broderick Jones, but Broderick leaving and Warren McClendon. So there's the two offensive linemen that both had some eligibility remaining. But with Cedric coming back, that allows you to set your line. And there's a couple things going on here at once. First of all, that you're returning your center to uh, to start in a season where you're going to have a new quarterback, that's a big deal. That allows you to he can come up, Cedric can come up and identify what's going on at the line of scrimmage. If Carson Beck or whoever the starting quarterback may be gets confused in some way, something like that. But it means you're not searching for a center. You're okay. And by the way, Cedric is the sort of last guy you're waiting to hear on. So you've got the return of Amarius Mims. He couldn't leave. Xavier Truss could have left. He is not. Cedric Van Pran. You have Tate Ratledge returning. And then at right tackle, or one of the tackles, you're going to have to figure out what you want to do there. Ernest Green is a guy that I think you're going to want to pay attention to, but you could use Truss at tackle. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility here. The unfortunate passing of Devin Willock means, quite clear that it's a tragedy, right? There's no question about that part. In terms of the cold reality of Georgia's football situation, it means they lost a starting, offensive lineman. Now that's a real, one is way more important than the other. I mean, we would much rather have him back, just have an injury or something. But that's done, unfortunately, and it's tragic. And the reality is that Georgia has to fill that spot. So you know the return of Cedric Van Pran Granger gives you the capability of having everybody, your center and at least one tackle in Mims. You know where you're going there, and you have the returning starters with Truss and Ratledge. These are all, so you're going to return at minimum three continuous return starters on the offensive line. But for the playoff, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to look this up as I talk. I mean, uh, excuse me. Everybody's names is, I'm trying to say Truss, and I mean Mims. I'm pretty certain that Mims started in the Ohio State game because Warren couldn't go. Warren McClendon didn't play in that game. So, of the starters in that semifinal game, I want to make sure I get this right. I don't want to get this wrong. So Broderick left, but you have Van Pran, Mims, Ratledge, and Truss all return. I mean, that's four of the five guys that started in, honestly, the most important game of the season. They are all back. I mean, that's a big deal, y'all. Make sure you're picking up dog instruction. I don't have with me. Oh, yes, I do. There it is. I'm going to run out of confetti. So order double dogs today if you want any hope of having it. I don't know. I will tell y'all when that offer is over. Pick it up today, and you'll probably still get it. Once we hit a particular number, I'm not gonna. I don't feel comfortable telling y'all that I have confetti to give anymore because I've done a little bit of math and I'm not sure that we're going to have enough. This is not how much you'll get, but this is a sampling of what you'll get. The red, the white, the black, the gold, perhaps the white one. There were gold streamers, black streamers. We're going to get that to you. It's legitimate. We collected it mainly for my children. They're not aware that this is happening yet. We're going to keep this on the down low. Y'all are going to get it, but you got to pick up double dogs today to have that chance. And frankly, if you're watching this later sometime later this week, um, it's just worth it to have the book, frankly. Now, in the Texas Christian game, I want to make sure. I think Warren McClendon started that game, but I just want to be sure here. No, he did not. So the offensive line that you started the semifinal game as well as the national championship game, Broderick Jones, Cedric Van Pran, Amarius Mims, Tate Ratledge, and Xavier Truss. Everybody but Broderick is back. That's 4 starting offensive linemen, y'all. That is significant. You're going to return those guys as well as Brock Bowers, Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint, and Ladd McConkey. You got seven returning starters. You lose Broderick Jones, Darnell Washington, Kenny McIntosh, and Stetson Bennett, of course. So, I mean, Georgia is really in good position. Let's see what happens with Todd Monken. That is a good question. I don't think there's a certainty there. I'm not totally sure. I've got to finish writing the book. That's my number one focus right now. And the Ohio State story is done, but it was 5,000 words. So that's going to be a long story. You're not going to read anywhere else. Again, it's in Double Dogs. You're going to want to make sure to pick it up today. The link is down below. But I only say that to say this: I've got to get at what we were hearing out there sooner than later. Part of the background on Cedric Van Pran, we were never told. Cedric Van Pran Granger. I want to make sure, you know. But part of the thing with Cedric was we got the vibe that he was probably going after the national championship game or just before the national championship game. However, we we were not we didn't think it was 100% thing, clearly. This was not a Darnell Washington or Broderick Jones or Keeley thing. He had a good week to think about it, and obviously the tragedy with Devin and Chandler. I mean, I don't know that changed anything, but he was the one guy, Cedric, that was really thinking about it that we felt like could come back. And as it turns out, he did. So, a lot of guys announced that they were leaving, and I think they still had the COVID year left, whether you're talking about Kenny. I don't know if Kira's had a COVID year left, but anyway, I'm not going to get into all that. Stetson did not. So, like Kenny, Warren Erickson, well, Warren might not have had any left either. Christopher Smith. There were some guys that were in their senior season, so to speak. Robert Beal, obviously, and Stetson, they had no more eligibility. So the COVID thing did not apply to them. But it applies to everybody from who was in the class of 2020 backwards. So if you're still on the team, you have a COVID year. If you started your year in 21, Brock Vandegrift's class and beyond. So that's Brock, Amarius, Chambliss, Pop, Smile Munden, that linebacker trio. Those guys don't have the COVID year. So after next year, after the 23 season, those guys, my understanding is that they won't have that to play with, but those guys are NFL football players, the linebackers I just talked about. So, with Cedric, I've not talked to Cedric. I don't know, but my suspicion is that this is about creating value for himself and trying to become a top 60, top 70 player and figure out perhaps if you can work your way into the second round. A center, it's so hard to get drafted in the first round. I mean, I will say this. In Cedric's case, I doubt it, but I do not think it's out of the question that someone like him could possibly work their way into the first round. But that's not what this is about. This is about creating as much value as possible for yourself going into the 24 draft. And I think, well, I don't think there's a big difference between getting drafted in the third round and the fifth round. Third round, they got plans for you. You are James Cook. You are a guy that probably will be a person that they really want to re-sign. Fifth round, they hope you work out. They hope they all work out, but there's not a lot of David Andrews in this league where they don't get drafted and they go on to play for years and become captains of teams. But Georgia's centers have shown that they are really good. Ben Jones has been in the NFL now for 10 years, I think it is. That's a long time. Um, David Andrews has been in the NFL for 6, 7 years, whatever it is. I mean, they were right after each other. So there's been some really good centers that have gone on to play in the NFL. But in Cedric's case, this was a matter of, hey, look, I don't have to go, and I can possibly create more value for myself coming back. Is he versatile? Could you? I mean, I don't. This is total speculation now. Could Georgia mix him in at guard from time to time with the second unit? To just even put that on film, or is it possible that this guy's just a straight center? That's what he does. What you see is what you get if you're the NFL, and you get to see more. So I think this is going to be quietly one of the bigger moves in Georgia's offseason. We knew Darnell, Keeley, Broderick. I mean, these were guys that when Matt DeBerry, who you see on this channel all the time, when he was in Las Vegas covering Darnell and Keeley in the same game, it was obvious that they were, leaving. I mean, in our discussion with Keeley privately, I mean, it was evident that he was going to declare for the NFL draft. We're not going to sit there and report that, right? I mean, that's not necessarily for us to do when we're, at an event with him. But it's clear that those guys were doing that. That's not surprising. Jalen Carter, um, so there really were no surprises. That lad came back, not a surprise. It really was Cedric that was the guy that, could he come back? Yeah, and he did. So we talked about it on the message board yesterday. I wasn't really comfortable writing the story. When you write the story, you're much more comfortable because that goes out to hundreds of thousands of people. When it's on the message board, that's much more exclusive group of folks. Anyway, pick up Double Dogs today. You'll get the confetti. I might be out of it tomorrow. I just don't know.